The United Nations says Afghanistan's hunger crisis is, quote, pure catastrophe. About 25 million Afghans are living in poverty. The cost of food is on the rise, and some are concerned that the coming winter could be a death sentence for many children. Imtiaz Tyab has seen the unfolding tragedy firsthand, and he joins us now from the capital city of Kabul. Imtiaz, good morning. Good to see you.
Anne-Marie, Vlad, very good to be with you. Yeah, I mean, the situation here in Afghanistan, frankly, is terrible. In fact, according to the United Nations, this is the world's worst humanitarian disaster, with 90% of people here going hungry. A warning now, some of the images in this report may be hard to watch.
Afghanistan is starving. And these babies are among the most malnourished. At Kabul's Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital, infants from across the country are brought here for specialized treatment. This mother tells us her 4-month-old son, Murtaza, weighs just 6.5 pounds.
Your son is so small, so frail. You must be very worried about him.
Yes, we are so worried, she says. She lost one son already and fears she will lose him, too. Hunger has long plagued Afghanistan. But since the Taliban's takeover 1 year ago, the Biden administration froze billions in state bank assets, and international donors pulled financial support. But doctors here say it's people who are paying the price. 1 or 2 malnourished children die here every day, he says.
You lose 1 or 2 children a day.
Yes, unfortunately. In the Taliban's Afghanistan, hunger stalks nearly every street. The number of people waiting outside of bakeries hoping for a handout of bread is only growing. Each loaf costs just 11 cents. But even that's too expensive for Najibullah, who works as a day laborer. Lately, work has been hard to come by.
The Taliban have been in power for a year now. Are they helping you?
I haven't received a penny from them, he says.
So life is worse for you under the Taliban?
Yes, it's terrible, he says. It's a slow death for us. Life is not worth living when there's no food and no work. As the sun sets, a local resident offers to buy bread for the dozens of men and women who have been waiting outside the bakery. The total cost isn't more than a few dollars. But for everyone here, it means they and their families won't go to bed hungry, at least not tonight.
Now, it has to be said that aid is trickling into Afghanistan, but nowhere near the levels before the U.S. withdrawal just under a year ago. And that just means this crisis is only likely to get worse. Anne-Marie, Vlad.
So, Imtiaz, there's so many questions, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. I know you've covered Afghanistan for quite some time. First question is, why did the U.S. government freeze those billions of dollars in state bank assets? Are they planning to release those funds? And I mean, is this a question of, and we talked about this when the U.S. military was leaving Afghanistan, is this a question of it's one thing to control a country, it's another thing to govern it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really valid point, Vlad. And, you know, to answer the question about the billions of dollars of Afghan state assets that were frozen by the Biden administration almost as soon as the Taliban swept in and took over this country, well, a year ago, it was because the Taliban was in power. And we remember that President Biden weeks later announced that $3.5 billion of that money would be set aside and given to the victims of the 9/11 attacks. And we, of course, have heard from some of those family members who say, we don't want this money. This money belongs to the people of Afghanistan. And yet here we are 1 year later, and just a few weeks ago, the Biden administration announced that a drone strike killed Ayman al-Zawahri, the leader of al-Qaeda, right here in Kabul. And the State Department said that they would not be releasing any of those state funds back to Afghanistan over fears that that money could go to groups like Al-Qaeda. And it really just further complicates the situation here on the ground in Afghanistan, because we have to remember that money is Afghanistan's. A lot of that is the personal savings of people here in Afghanistan that they put into the state bank, and now they don't have access to it, which in part has triggered this horrific humanitarian crisis. Of course, many other reasons as well, as we mentioned in our report, but all of that has really led to this, frankly, terrible situation. Anne-Marie.
You know, we remember sort of a year ago when the U.S. military was leaving Afghanistan, and there was this chaos, but also this kind of Herculean effort to get tens of thousands of Afghans who worked with the U.S. military out of the country. Many were able to leave, but I wonder how many are still there. How many are stranded? How many are left behind? And what is the U.S. doing to get them out 1 year later?
I mean, Anne-Marie, it's such a vital and important question, and to get those numbers is really difficult. In fact, the last real numbers we have are from the State Department from around 6 months ago, and that figure was at 60,000 interpreters, other people who have worked with the U.S., supported the U.S. during its 20-year mission here in Afghanistan, America's longest war, and many of them say that they are bereft. They don't know what to do. In fact, we spoke with a translator who worked with the U.S. Marines, who worked with the U.S. Air Force, and he says that he's essentially living in hiding, that he's in a safe house here in Kabul where we met him. We kind of very discreetly went inside to do this interview with him, which we shot on our iPhones because he was so afraid for his safety that he didn't want our crew to come in and meet him and potentially give away his location. And his story really sort of crystallizes the situation of a lot of these interpreters who find themselves still trapped here in Afghanistan. They've applied for what's called an SIV, or a special immigrant's visa, and it's just sitting in limbo, in his words. And he's waiting and waiting and waiting for some sort of answer. But further complicating matters is that the Taliban is now the government of Afghanistan. And as the government, the Taliban is responsible for issuing things like passports. And this man who we spoke to doesn't have a passport. And so he's sitting there going, well, even if I do get this visa, how do I get out of Afghanistan if I don't even get a passport? And how can I get a passport if I try to apply for one? The Taliban will know where I am, and they've already made threats against me. So it's a very difficult situation for the many, many people who once worked with the U.S., supported the U.S., are just desperate to leave Afghanistan and still can't. Anne-Marie, Vlad.
Imtiaz, it is such an unfortunate situation on so many levels. Thank you so much.